Jake Morrison opened his eyes. The world was fuzzy and strange. Cold liquid dripped down his face. He was in some kind of glass tube. His body felt heavy and slow. Where was he? The glass door in front of him made a loud hissing sound. It swung open. Jake almost fell forward but caught himself. His legs were weak. The air smelled wrong. It smelled like metal and chemicals. Something moved in front of him. Jake looked up. His heart jumped. A giant bug stood there. It was taller than any man. Its body was covered in hard black shell. It had too many legs. Its eyes were huge and made of tiny pieces like a diamond. The bug made clicking sounds. Jake heard words in his head. There was a small chip behind his ear that changed the bug sounds into English. Human Jake Morrison, I am Zixthor. You are going to Krevesh Prime. You will stay there forever. This is your punishment for hurting another person. Jake tried to remember. There was a bar, a space station. Some alien got drunk. It pulled out a knife. Jake punched it. Just one punch. But aliens did not like humans fighting back. I was defending myself, Jake said. His throat was dry. The words came out rough. Your Earth ideas do not matter here. You hurt a member of the Galactic Consortium. The law says you must go to Krevesh Prime. Humans are weak. You will die quickly there. Weak. Jake had heard that word so many times since leaving Earth. All the aliens thought humans were soft and fragile. They did not know that Earth was a hard place to live. They did not know what humans could survive. The bug pointed at a window. Jake looked out. He saw a planet. It was red and purple. Huge storms covered it. Lightning flashed in the clouds. It looked beautiful and terrible at the same time. You have 1 hour before we drop you. The average human lives 3 days on Krevesh Prime. That is 72 of your hours. I suggest you prepare yourself for death. 3 days. They thought he would die in 3 days. Jake thought about his childhood. He grew up in the mountains of Colorado. His father taught him how to survive in the wild. He learned to find water. He learned to make fire. He learned to build shelter. He spent 2 weeks alone in Alaska once with only a knife. What do I get? Jake asked. You get a survival kit. It has food for 1 week. It has a water cleaner. It has medical supplies. It also has a beacon. If you want to die quickly, press the beacon. A machine will come and kill you fast. It will be better than starving or being eaten. How kind, Jake said. He did not mean it. They gave him a suit to wear. It was thin and would not protect him much. They took him to a small pod. It looked like a coffin with a window. Jake climbed inside. The bug spoke one more time. You have more courage than most. I hope your death is quick. Thanks, but I'm not planning to die, Jake said. The door closed. Jake felt the pod shake. Then it dropped. He was falling toward the planet. The pod shook hard. Alarms were loud inside. Jake held on tight. He had jumped from airplanes before. He had done dangerous things. This was just one more dangerous thing. He kept telling himself that. The pod hit the ground hard. Jake's teeth clicked together. Pain shot through his body. But nothing was broken. The pod said the air outside was safe to breathe. Jake hit the release button. The door blew off. Jake looked at his new home. He was on a flat area of rock. Sharp stones stuck up from the ground like teeth. The sky was purple. Clouds moved fast overhead. Lightning flashed inside them. The air was thick and wet. It was hard to breathe. Everything smelled strange and wrong. Jake saw other pods scattered around. Some were old and broken. Some were newer. He counted 20 pods. He walked to the nearest one and looked inside. Bones. Alien bones. Whatever had been in this pod was dead now. Jake checked more pods. They all had bones or were empty. Nobody had survived here. Not for long anyway. The gravity was stronger here. Everything felt heavier. Jake's pack felt like it weighed twice as much. His legs hurt, but he had trained in high gravity before. He would get used to it. Dark clouds were coming. Rain would start soon. Jake needed shelter fast. He walked to the edge of the flat rock area. Below was a forest. The trees had red leaves that moved like they were alive. In the distance, something roared. It sounded big and hungry. Jake found a cave near the edge. Vines hung over the entrance. They glowed with a soft blue light. He checked inside carefully. The cave was dry. The walls were solid. One entrance. Easy to defend. It would work. Jake put down his pack and checked what he had. Food paste for 7 days. a water filter, a small medical kit, and the death beacon. He picked up the beacon. It was small and black. One button. Press it and die. Jake walked to the cave entrance and threw it as hard as he could. It disappeared into the trees below. 72 hours, he said out loud. Let us see how I'm doing in 72 hours. Thunder rolled across the sky. Rain started to fall. But this was not normal rain. When it hit the rocks outside, it made a hissing sound. Smoke rose up. The rain was acid. It would burn skin. Jake stayed in his cave and watched the storm. He needed to make plans. He needed fire. He needed clean water. He needed food. The cave was good but needed to be stronger. He thought about his survival students back on Earth. They laughed when he made them learn old ways of doing things. They said nobody needed to know how to start a fire without tools. They said climate control made survival skills useless. Jake wondered what they would think if they could see him now. The storm got worse. Wind screamed across the rocks. Lightning hit close by. The sound was so loud it hurt his ears. Strange sounds came from the forest. Animals calling. Or maybe the planet itself making noise. Jake Morrison from Denver, Colorado. Earth sat in his cave on his first night on Kravesh Prime. The alien said he would be dead in 3 days. He planned to prove them very wrong. Jake woke up to a strange sound. Something was scraping at the cave entrance. He grabbed his tool that he had turned into a spear. His heart was beating fast. It was still dark outside. The scraping got louder. Something big was out there. Jake could hear it breathing. It was testing the cave entrance. It wanted to know if it could fit inside. Jake picked up a rock and threw it hard at the back wall. The sound was very loud in the cave. The creature outside made a hissing noise and ran away. Jake listened until he could not hear it anymore. When the sun came up, Jake looked at the cave entrance. There were deep scratches in the rock. Whatever made them was very strong. The scratches were as long as his arm and 2 inches deep. Jake needed food and water. His food paste would last a week, but he needed to find real food. He needed to learn what was safe to eat on this planet. He took his spear and a bag and left the cave. The gravity still made him tired, but it was getting easier. His body was learning to deal with it. Jake walked down from the flat rock area into the forest. The trees were huge. Their trunks were smooth and looked like metal. The red leaves made everything look strange. The ground was covered in soft moss. When he stepped on it, little clouds of dust came up. He could hear things moving in the forest. Birds or something like birds. Animals in the bushes. Far away, something roared. Jake held his spear tight and kept walking. He found a stream after 20 minutes. The water was clear but looked oily. It reflected light in a weird way. Jake took a sample and put it in his water filter. The filter beeped. The water had metals in it. It had chemicals. It would need to be filtered 3 times to be safe. Jake filled his container and started the filter. While it worked, he looked around. There was fungus growing on the trees. Big shelf-like pieces in blue and green colors. On Earth, some fungus was good to eat. But some could kill you. He would have to test this carefully. He was reaching for a sample when his neck tingled. Something was watching him. Jake turned slowly. 50 yards away stood the biggest predator he had ever seen. It was 8 feet tall at the shoulder. It had 6 legs. Its body was covered in black scales. Its head was mostly mouth with huge teeth. Sharp blades stuck up from its back. Jake named it a razorback in his mind. The razorback looked at Jake. Jake looked back. He could see it thinking, "Is this food? Can I kill it?" Jake had dealt with bears and mountain lions in Colorado. The key was not to run. Make yourself big. Make noise. Show you will fight back. Jake stood up tall. He raised his spear. Then he yelled. Not a scream. A deep, angry roar. "Get away, go on. Get out." He banged his spear against a tree. He made as much noise as he could. He stomped forward. The razorback stepped back. It looked surprised. Jake kept yelling and making noise. After a few seconds that felt like hours, the razorback turned and walked away. It kept looking back, but it left. Jake waited until it was gone. Then his hands started shaking. That was close. Too close. But it worked. The creature backed down because Jake acted dangerous. Jake took his fungus samples and his water and went back to the cave. He needed to test the fungus carefully. First, he rubbed a small piece on his skin. He waited an hour. Nothing happened. Good. Next, he touched a tiny piece to his lips. Waited another hour. Still nothing. Then he put a small piece in his mouth but did not swallow. After an hour, he swallowed a tiny amount. Then he waited 4 hours. He did not get sick. The fungus was safe to eat. It did not taste great. It was like rubber mushrooms, but it was food. While he tested the fungus, Jake worked on making the cave safer. He made a wall at the entrance using dead branches and sharp rocks. It would not stop a big predator, but it would slow one down and make noise. He also set up a warning system. He balanced loose rocks near the entrance. If something came in the night, the rocks would fall and make noise. He would wake up before the creature got too close. By the end of day 2, Jake had learned a lot. He knew where to get water. He knew one plant he could eat. He knew there were big predators, but they could be scared off. He was starting to understand this place. On day 3, Jake made traps. He used vines from the forest to make snares. He set them on animal trails, small paths in the forest where the plants were pushed down. Animals used the same paths over and over. He hoped to catch something. That afternoon, he checked his traps. One had caught something. It was about the size of a rabbit. It had scales and could change colors. Sharp spines stuck up from its back. It was dead in the trap. Jake carried it back carefully. He did not touch the spines. He used a stick to check them. They looked like they had poison. He worked slowly and carefully. He cut away the skin without touching the spines. Inside, he found sacs near the spines. Poison sacs. He removed them and buried them deep. The meat inside was pale and firm. Jake cooked it over a fire he had made. He had to test this like he tested the fungus, small amounts first. Wait and see. 6 hours later, he had not gotten sick. He cooked more meat and ate his first real meal on Crevesh Prime. It actually tasted good, like chicken but different. The sun was setting on day 3. 72 hours had passed. The alien said humans died in 72 hours on this planet. Jake took one of his empty food packets and wrote on it with a marker from his medical kit. Day 3, still here. He hung it outside the cave entrance. A message to the universe. A small victory. Another storm came that night. Jake sat in his cave by his fire. He had food. He had water. He had shelter. He had survived the first 3 days the Razorback came by again. Jake could see it at the edge of the light. It watched him but did not come close. They had an understanding now. 2 predators sharing space, Jake smiled. He was not just surviving, he was starting to win. 3 weeks had passed. Jake had made his cave into a real home. He had collected rainwater in containers he made from old pod parts. He had a wall of rocks and branches protecting the entrance. He had dried meat hanging from the ceiling. He had fire almost all the time. The morning of day 23 started with noise. Jake woke up fast. Something was tearing at his food storage outside the cave. He grabbed his spear and went to look. Pack hunters. Small predators about the size of dogs. They had gray scales and too many teeth. 5 of them were working together. 2 were stealing his dried meat. 3 were watching for danger. Smart. They worked as a team. Jake was not going to let them steal his food. He had worked too hard for it. He grabbed a burning branch from his fire and ran outside yelling. The pack hunters jumped back. But they did not run away. They moved back about 20 yards and waited. They were thinking about fighting him. Jake made himself as big and loud as possible. He waved the fire. He threw rocks. One rock hit right next to the leader's head. The leader made an angry hissing sound. Then it turned and ran. The others followed. Jake made sure they were really gone. Then he fixed his food storage. He moved it closer to the cave where he could hear if anything touched it. The Razorback was watching from its usual spot. It had been coming around more often. It seemed interested in what Jake was doing. Today it was closer than normal, maybe 50 yards instead of 100. Jake had started to recognize the Razorback. It had a broken horn. It limped a little on one of its middle legs. It had scars on its side. This was the same creature. It kept coming back. Jake had been mapping the area. He used black rocks to draw on the cave wall. He marked where he found water, where his traps worked best, where dangerous things lived. He had 3 danger zones marked with skull shapes. One danger zone was a deep ravine. Jake almost fell in on day 5. Another was a grove of trees that leaked poison from their bark. The third was a deep pool in the stream. Something huge lived in it. Jake saw it once. He did not go near that pool anymore. Today he added a new mark to his map. He found a collapsed cave. The entrance was blocked with rocks, but he could see inside through a gap. Footprints, human footprints. They were old and filled with dirt. But they were from human boots. Someone else had been here, another exile. The footprints went into the collapsed cave and did not come out. Jake dug for an hour and found bones. Human bones. Whoever they were, they survived longer than 72 hours. They found shelter, but they still died, it made Jake think. Surviving was not just about the first few days. He had to stay alert all the time. One mistake and he would end up like the person in that cave. He marked the collapsed cave on his map with a handprint. A way to remember. Someone tried and failed. Jake would not fail. That afternoon, Jake found something good. Bird nests. Well, not birds exactly. Six-legged flying things that looked a little like birds. They nested in the tall trees near the stream. Jake watched them for 2 hours. They left the nest every few hours to hunt. They were gone for about 20 minutes each time. When they left, Jake climbed the tree. The tree was hard to climb. The bark was smooth and slippery. But Jake had done rock climbing before. He made it up to the nest. Inside were 5 eggs. Each egg was the size of a baseball. The shells looked like crystal. They were beautiful. Jake took 2 eggs. He left 3. If he took all the eggs, there would be no more birds. No more eggs later. Take only what you need. Leave enough for next time. The eggs were delicious when cooked, rich and creamy. Jake decided to check the nests once every 3 days. Sustainable harvesting. His teacher's voice in his head. Use the land, but do not destroy it. On day 28, the worst storm yet hit. The wind was so strong that Jake had to put extra supports in the cave entrance. The rain was pure acid. Anything it touched smoked and burned. Lightning hit the ground over and over. The thunder was so loud it hurt. Jake stayed in the back of the cave. He kept his fire small so smoke would not blow back in. He waited. The storm lasted 14 hours. When it finally stopped, Jake went outside. Trees were knocked down. His traps were destroyed. Parts of his fence were gone. It would take days to fix everything, but he was alive. The cave had protected him. Something moved near the cliff edge. The razorback. It was closer than it had ever been. Maybe 30 yards away. Jake could see it clearly now. The razorback had been hurt by the storm. There was a fresh cut on its side. It was breathing hard. It had taken shelter by some rocks, but the storm was too strong even for it. Jake made a decision. Maybe it was stupid, but it felt right. He went to his food storage and got a large piece of dried meat. His best piece. He walked slowly toward the razorback. Not too close, about 20 yards. Close enough to be vulnerable. Close enough to show trust. He put the meat on a rock and backed away. The razorback watched him. It looked at the meat. It looked back at Jake. Jake could almost see it thinking, what is this? A trap, a gift? Finally, the razorback stood up. It walked to the meat. It smelled it carefully. Then it ate it in 3 quick bites. The razorback looked at Jake again. Then it lowered its head. Just a little. Like a nod, Jake felt something strange. He was alone on a planet designed to kill him. But he just made a friend, sort of. An understanding at least. You are welcome, Jake said quietly. The days went by. Jake noticed changes. The pack hunters did not come back. Other predators stayed away from his territory. It was like word had spread. This area belonged to something that fights back, something dangerous. On day 30, Jake marked his cave wall with 30 lines. 1 month. The alien said nobody survived a month without going crazy. Jake did not feel crazy. He felt strong. He felt alive. He felt like he belonged here. Jake was checking his traps when he saw fire in the sky. At first he thought it was lightning, but the streak moved wrong. It was falling in a straight line. Another drop pod. Jake stood still and watched. The pod came down with bright flames around it. The engines fired to slow it down. It was landing on the same flat rock area where Jake had landed 2 months ago. Jake had a choice. He could ignore it. Keep to himself, stay safe. Or he could go see. Maybe help. Maybe meet another person. He had not talked to anyone in 60 days. That was a long time to be alone. Jake decided to go. He jogged across the flat rocks. His body was used to the gravity now. He could move fast without getting tired. The pod door opened. A person stumbled out. The person took off their helmet. It was a woman. She had dark hair and brown skin. She looked young, maybe late 20s. She took 3 steps and fell down. The gravity was too much for her. Jake called out as he got closer. He did not want to scare her. Hey, easy. Take it slow. The gravity here is really strong. You need time to adjust. The woman's head snapped up. Her eyes were wide. She looked scared. She reached for something in her survival kit. Jake stopped and held up his hands. Wait, I'm human. From Earth, my name is Jake Morrison. I have been here 2 months. I am not going to hurt you. She stared at him. She looked at his rough clothes made from plant fibers and animal skins. She looked at the bone tools on his belt. She looked at his face, tanned dark from the purple sun. 2 months? She said. Her voice was hoarse. They told me people die in 3 days here. They tell everyone that. It is true for most aliens, but humans are tougher than they think. What is your name? Lisa Harper. I am from New York. Well, I was. I have been living on space stations for 8 years. What did you do to get sent here? Jake asked. He helped her stand up. I hacked into consortium financial networks. I found proof of corruption. They did not like that. So they sent me here to die instead of having a trial. Political prisoner, Jake said. That is new. I just punched someone who tried to stab me. Self-defense is not legal in their law. Lisa swayed on her feet. The gravity was hard on her. Jake could tell she was struggling. Come on. My cave is not far. You need to rest and drink water. We can talk more there. But we need to move before dark. The animals here are not friendly. Lisa looked around at the alien landscape. The purple sky. The red forest. The strange sounds. Jake saw reality hit her. This was real. This was her life now. How do you survive? She asked quietly. Same way humans always survive. We adapt. Come on. I will teach you. The walk back was slow. Lisa could barely move in the high gravity. Jake told her about the first days. About finding the cave. About learning what was safe to eat. About the predators. When they got to his territory, Lisa stopped and stared. What is that? The razorback was lying near its rock. It lifted its head to look at them. That is my neighbor. Do not worry. We have a deal. Just do not make sudden moves or loud noises. Your neighbor. That thing is huge. Yeah, but it keeps the smaller predators away. So we help each other. Jake showed Lisa the cave. She looked at everything he had built. The tools. The food storage. The map on the wall. The fire. The water system. You built all this yourself? 2 months is a long time. Plus, I was a survival instructor back on Earth. I taught people how to live in the wilderness. Lisa sat down on a rock. She looked tired. I have never been camping. I grew up in a city. I went straight to space stations. I have never even seen a real forest before this. Then you are going to learn fast. First thing, let us look at your kit. They opened her survival kit. It had the same things Jake's had. Food paste, water filter, medical supplies, the death beacon. But then Lisa pulled out something different. A small electronic device. She turned it over in her hands. What is that? Jake asked. It is a quantum encryption module, part of the communication system for the beacon. She looked at it closely. This is way too advanced for just a death beacon. If I had the right parts, I might be able to change it into something else. Like what? Like a transmitter. A real one, not a death beacon. A device that could send messages off-planet. It would take work. I would need parts from other pods, but it might be possible. Jake felt something he had not felt since landing here. Hope. How many other pods would you need? At least 3, maybe 5. And they would need to be recent. Old parts might not work anymore. Jake thought about the pods scattered around the flat rocks. About going into the dangerous parts of the forest to find more. It is risky. It will take time, but it is a chance. The first real chance to get off this rock. Exactly. It is a long shot. But it is something. Over the next week, Jake taught Lisa everything. How to move in the gravity, how to find safe water, how to identify food, how to set traps, how to deal with predators, how to read the weather and find shelter. Lisa learned quickly. She was smart and paid attention. She took notes on everything. She asked questions that Jake had never thought to ask. She saw patterns he had missed. Lisa also told Jake things about the consortium, about the corruption she found, about a secret list, political prisoners sent to death worlds, people who asked too many questions, people who would not stay quiet. They use this place to make people disappear, Lisa said. The records say you died in 72 hours. Nobody questions it. Nobody checks. It is the perfect way to get rid of problems. Well, Jake said, we are not going to make it easy for them. Tomorrow we start collecting parts. The first salvage trip was easy. They found a pod a mile away. Lisa took it apart while Jake watched for predators. She pulled out components and put them in her bag. The second trip was harder. The pod they needed was deep in the forest, in territory Jake had avoided. Too many predators, they moved carefully. Lisa carried her tools. Jake carried his spear and knife. He read the signs of animal trails. He steered them away from danger. They were almost at the pod when Jake felt it. That feeling when something is watching you. He grabbed Lisa and pulled her behind a fallen tree. It came through the forest like a walking mountain. 3 times bigger than the razorback, 4 legs like tree trunks, armor plates on its back, horns like spears, eyes that glowed blue, a titan. That was the only word for it. They stayed frozen behind the tree. The titan walked past. Each step shook the ground. Trees bent out of its way. Jake held his breath until it was gone. 4 months had passed. The transmitter sat on the flat rocks like a pile of junk. It was made from 17 different drop pods. Wires connected everything. It looked like it might explode. But Lisa said it would work. 1 shot, she said. We have 1 chance. All the power cells will burn out when we use them. The transmitter will probably break. We get maybe 5 seconds to send our message. Will 5 seconds be enough? Jake asked. It will have to be. I have encoded everything. My evidence of corruption. The coordinates of this planet. Proof that humans can survive here. It will all go out at once. Another exile had arrived 2 weeks ago. An alien named Crix. It was made of living crystal. Its body looked like colored glass. It made sounds like wind chimes when it moved. Crix had been sent here for refusing to lie. Its job was to record death statistics for death worlds. But the numbers were false. The consortium made Crix change the numbers to make death worlds seem more dangerous. When Crix said no, they sent it here. Crix was amazed to find survivors. Amazed to find that the death world stories were exaggerated. The alien had helped them plan. A consortium patrol passes near here in 40 minutes, Crix said. Its voice sounded like music. They are friendly to humans. If they get your message, they will come. And if they do not get it? Jake asked. Then we try again. But we only have enough power for 1 transmission. Lisa looked at the sky. Dark clouds were forming. The storm is coming early. If we transmit during the storm, the electromagnetic energy could boost our signal, make it stronger. But it is also dangerous. Jake looked at the storm. It was going to be bad. Maybe the worst one yet. But it was also their best chance. We transmit during the storm, set up on the highest point, maximum range. They hauled the equipment to the top of the highest rocks. The wind was already getting strong. Crix used its crystal body to block the wind and protect the transmitter. Lisa connected the power cells. Ready when you are. Jake was checking the connections when he felt it. Danger. He looked around and saw them coming. Predators. All kinds. Dozens of them. The pack hunters. Some razorbacks. Things Jake had never seen before. They were coming from every direction. The electromagnetic energy from the transmitter was drawing them in. How long do you need? Jake asked. He kept his voice calm. Lisa looked at the predators. Her face went pale. 2 minutes to encode and send. Then I will give you 2 minutes. Jake grabbed his spear and shield. Crix, can you help? I am not a fighter, but I can make light barriers. They will not last long. Do what you can. The first predator attacked. One of the pack hunters. Fast and vicious. Jake met it with his shield. The creature's teeth scraped against the metal. Jake stabbed with his spear. The creature yelped and ran back. But 3 more came forward. Jake fought using everything he had learned. He used the rocks to funnel them. He used the wind. He yelled to confuse them. He stabbed and blocked and dodged, but there were too many. He got cut on his arm, then his leg. Blood was running down his face. He was getting tired, then he heard it. A roar that cut through the storm. The razorback charged into the fight. His razorback, the one with the broken horn and the limp. The razorback fought beside Jake. Together they held the line. Human and alien predator working as a team. A huge creature broke through. It was heading straight for Lisa. Jake threw his spear. It hit the creature in the eye. The creature screamed but kept coming. Jake ran. His tired legs pumped hard. He threw himself between Lisa and the creature. Claws raked across his chest. Pain exploded through his body. But he held on. Transmitting now, Lisa said. The transmitter came alive. The sound was like tearing metal. Every power cell released its energy at once. Light burst out so bright that Jake could not see. The electromagnetic pulse was so strong that all the predators froze. Jake heard Lisa's message broadcasting into space. This is Lisa Harper transmitting from Kravesh Prime. We are human survivors of political exile. We have evidence of consortium corruption. We have survived 4 months on a Class 10 death world. We are proof that humans are not fragile. We belong among the stars. These are our coordinates. Come find us. The message repeated 3 times. Then the transmitter exploded. Sparks flew everywhere. But the message was sent. It was racing through space right now. The predators recovered from their shock. They started to attack again. But then the storm truly hit. Acid rain fell in sheets. Lightning struck all around. The predators ran for shelter. Jake, Lisa, and Crix made it back to the cave. Jake's wounds were bad but not deadly. Lisa cleaned them and wrapped them up. They had survived. They had sent their message. Now they had to wait. 3 weeks went by. Jake healed slowly. His chest hurt when he moved. But he kept working, kept surviving. Then one morning, Jake heard engines. He looked up and saw a ship. A real ship. Not a prison transport. It had Earth colors. Earth markings. The ship landed on the flat rocks. The door opened. People came out. Humans in suits. They had weapons and equipment. A woman took off her helmet. She had gray in her hair and hard eyes. But she smiled when she saw Jake. Jake Morrison. I am Captain Helen Price, Earth Expeditionary Fleet. We got your message. Took us a while to get here, but we came. Jake looked at the ship, at the captain, at the chance to go home. Then he looked at his cave, at the territory he had claimed, at the razorback watching from its rock. You came, he said softly. Of course we came. Lisa's evidence caused a huge problem for the consortium. Your survival changed how everyone sees humans. You are a hero, not a hero. Just a survivor. That is enough. Ready to go home? Jake thought about it. About Earth, about Colorado. About his old life. Then he thought about what he had proven here. I have a different idea. What if we do not just leave? What if we stay and build an outpost? What if we prove humans cannot just survive here but thrive? What if we turn this death world into a symbol? Price looked surprised. You want to stay? Not forever. But long enough to teach others. Long enough to show the consortium they cannot dump us somewhere and expect us to die. Long enough to make a point. Lisa stepped forward. I will stay too. This place almost killed us, but it proved something important. Humans are not weak. We adapt, we survive. We win, Crix chimed in. My people need to see that their ideas about death worlds are wrong. I will stay and help, Price thought about it, then nodded. I will ask Earth Command. But I think they will say yes. Welcome to Kravesh Prime Research Outpost. Over the next months, ships came. Scientists, teachers, people who wanted to prove themselves. The outpost grew. Real buildings replaced the cave. Farms were started. Trade routes were opened. Jake taught survival classes. Lisa built better communication systems. Crix worked with honest consortium officials to expose the corruption. 6 months after the rescue, Jake stood on the rocks with Lisa. They had real coffee from Earth. They watched storm clouds gather. Lisa sipped her coffee and asked, Do you ever regret staying? Jake thought about it. He looked at the outpost below. Lights were turning on as evening came. He looked at the purple sky. He looked at the red forest where he had almost died 100 times. No, he said. The consortium sent me here to die. Instead, this place taught me something. I was supposed to prove that humans do not belong in space. I proved them wrong, Lisa smiled. Exiled to a death world sounds terrible, Jake laughed. Yeah, but for a human, just another Tuesday. The outpost had changed everything. Where there used to be just Jake's cave, now there were 50 buildings, labs, greenhouses, living quarters, a medical center, a school. Every week, new people arrived. Some were scientists studying the planet. Some were volunteers who wanted to test themselves. Some were young people learning survival skills. All of them wanted to prove something. Jake taught 3 classes every week: basic survival, advanced tracking, death world adaptation. His students came from all over Earth. Some had never been outside a city before. Now they were learning to thrive on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. One of his best students was a young man named Peter Chen. Peter grew up in Beijing. He had never seen real wilderness until he came to Krevesh Prime, but he learned fast. He was respectful. He paid attention. "Teacher Jake," Peter said one day, "how did you stay calm when you first arrived?" "I would have been terrified," Jake smiled. "I was terrified. But fear is okay. Fear keeps you alert. The trick is not to let fear stop you from thinking. Use your brain. Make plans. Take it one day at a time." What was the hardest part? The loneliness. The first 2 months alone were harder than any predator. When Lisa arrived, it changed everything. Having another person made all the difference. Peter nodded. He was taking notes like always. "And the Razorback? How did you become friends with it?" "We are not friends exactly. More like neighbors. I showed respect. I shared food. I did not threaten its territory. Sometimes that is all it takes." The Razorback still lived near the outpost. It had become famous. People took pictures of it. Scientists studied it from a safe distance, but it only came close to Jake. They still had their understanding. Lisa's work had blown up the consortium political system. Her evidence showed that dozens of officials had been using death worlds as dumping grounds, not just for criminals but for anyone who caused problems. Journalists, whistleblowers, political opponents. The scandal reached the highest levels. Several consortium members were arrested. New laws were passed. Deathworld exile was banned for political crimes. The survivors on Krevesh Prime were offered full pardons and compensation, but most of them chose to stay. Like Jake and Lisa, they had found something here: purpose, community, proof that they were stronger than anyone thought. Crix had become an ambassador. The crystalline alien helped other species understand that humans were not fragile, that Earth was a death world and humans evolved there, that human toughness was normal, not special. Humans grew up in a hard place, Crix would tell other aliens. They learned to survive when survival was not guaranteed. They learned to adapt when adaptation meant life or death. We should not underestimate them. We should learn from them. The agricultural project was making progress. Earth crops were being adapted to Krevesh Prime conditions. Tomatoes grew in the greenhouse. Wheat was being tested in protected fields. Chickens laid eggs in coops that looked like fortresses. The goal was to make Krevesh Prime self-sufficient. No more supply ships needed. A real colony. A permanent human presence on a death world. Jake walked through the greenhouse one afternoon. Dr. Carol Martinez was checking the tomato plants. She was a botanist from Mexico. She had been on Krevesh Prime for 3 months. "How are they doing?" Jake asked. "Better than expected. The soil here is actually very rich once we filter out the toxins, and the purple sun provides good light for photosynthesis. We might have our first harvest in 2 weeks. That is amazing. It is all because of what you proved, Jake. You showed that humans can live here. Now we are showing that humans can farm here, build here, make homes here." Jake felt proud. 4 months ago, he was alone in a cave just trying to survive one more day. Now there was a thriving outpost. Now there was hope for a real future. That evening, Captain Price called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the main hall. Over 100 people now. Humans and a few friendly aliens, all of them working together. "I have news from Earth Command," Price said. "They have officially recognized Krevesh Prime as a human colony. We have full rights to settle here. We have protection from the consortium, and we have funding for expansion." Everyone cheered. Jake felt Lisa grab his arm and squeeze. This was real. They had won. "There is more," Price continued. "Earth wants to establish a survival training academy here. They want Jake Morrison to be the director." All eyes turned to Jake. He felt his face get hot. He did not think of himself as a director. He was just a guy who knew how to survive. But Lisa leaned close and whispered, "You should do it. You are the best teacher here. You can train the next generation." Jake thought about it, then nodded. "I will do it, but only if Lisa helps. And only if we do it right. No cutting corners. No making it easy. If we are training people for death worlds, we train them properly." Price smiled. "I would not have it any other way." The meeting ended with celebration. People talked and laughed. Plans were made. Dreams were shared. Jake slipped outside. He needed air. He needed to think. So much had changed so fast. The Razorback was waiting near the old cave. The cave was preserved now. A historic site, the place where it all started. Jake walked over to the Razorback. He sat down on a rock about 10 yards away. Close enough to talk, far enough to be safe. Hey, buddy. Crazy, right? All these people. All this noise. You probably miss when it was quiet. The Razorback made a low rumbling sound, not threatening, just acknowledging, I know I am not leaving. This is home now. Your home and mine. We built this together in a way. The Razorback lowered its massive head. That gesture Jake had learned meant understanding. They sat together in comfortable silence as the sun set. The purple sky turned deep red. The first stars came out. Ships moved overhead, coming and going. Jake thought about his journey. Arrested on a space station, sentenced to death on a death world, left to die in 72 hours. But he survived. He thrived. He built something new. The consortium thought they were punishing him. Instead, they gave him a purpose. They gave him a chance to prove what humans could do. They gave him a home. Jake stood up. I should get back. Big day tomorrow. First class of the new academy. The Razorback watched him walk back to the outpost. 2 apex predators. 2 survivors. Both exactly where they belonged. Inside the outpost, people were still celebrating. Jake found Lisa and Crix. They stood together looking at a map of planned expansion. Next year, we want to establish a second outpost, Lisa said. Further into the forest. Closer to the mountain range. More people will come, Crix added. Other species, too. Everyone wants to learn from the humans who conquered a death world. Jake smiled. We did not conquer it. We learned to live with it. Big difference. Either way, Lisa said, you started something important here. You proved that humans belong among the stars. You proved we are not fragile. Jake looked around at everything they had built, at all the people working together, at the future being created right here on this death world. We proved it together, he said. All of us. That is the real lesson. Humans are strong, but we are strongest together. The celebration went late into the night. Music played. Food was shared. Stories were told. And high above, the stars shone down on Krevesh Prime, the death world, the impossible place, the planet that was supposed to kill any human who landed there. Instead, it became home.